Werewolf Shifter Romance, written by Amelia Hart. Chapter 1. Shadows at Crescent Moon. The late afternoon sun hung low over the sprawling expanse of Crescent Moon University, painting the jagged peaks and ivy-clad buildings in shades of burnished gold. The campus looked almost enchanted, every stone and ironwork humming with an energy Maya Collins couldn't understand. At 18, with her hope well worn and a battered duffel slung over her shoulder, she stepped from the battered shuttle bus onto the gravel circle leading up to the iron gates. Her heart thudded with the familiar ache of starting over. Another new school, another chance to be invisible, another place where nobody would remember her last name after the semester ended. The air was thick with the scent of pine, and something else, sharp and metallic, that she couldn't place. She tried to shake off nerves as she joined a stream of students making their way toward a looming Gothic hall. The crowd moved with a peculiar grace, not arrogant, not hurried, but every gesture felt deliberate. At times, their conversations grew hushed when she passed, which she chalked up to freshman jitters and the anxiety of being the scholarship girl. Crescent Moon boasted a reputation for academic rigor and a long tradition of admitting exceptional students from around the world. But the campus felt older, darker, rooted in something she couldn't name. Inside the cluttered main hall, the orientation crowd surged with laughter and bursts of excited chatter. Sunlight filtered through stained glass windows depicting wolves and crescent moons, throwing slivers of purple and silver onto the marbled floor. Maya scanned the crowd, searching for someone familiar among masses of strangers. Her pulse hammered. Then, her new roommate, Harper Wilde, swept up to her. Harper looked like she'd been ripped from a bohemian dream. Platinum curls tumbling over her shoulders, blue eyes sparkling, wrists adorned with a mismatched array of crystals and woven charms. "You must be Maya," Harper said, as she grabbed her arm, her wild grin as infectious as sunlight after rain. "Come on, they'll start the welcome soon." Maya let herself be tugged along, trying not to stare at the paler group clustered near the window, or a trio of students whose laughter seemed just a bit too harsh. As the dean, stern and statuesque, launched into a speech about tradition and excellence, Maya tuned out, overwhelmed by the pressure of expectations pressing from every side. Harper leaned in, whispering, "You'll love it here. The campus has its own heartbeat. Sometimes you just have to listen to the ground." Maya frowned, wondering what Harper meant. She made a note of details. The way the dean's gaze lingered on certain students, the cryptic mention of equinox rituals, and a passing joke about territories that slipped out from a professor's lips. Leaving orientation, Harper guided Maya through dusky corridors lined with ancient tapestries, heading for their dormitory. Wolfstone Hall, a stone building tangled in ivy, loomed ahead. The hallway smelled faintly of herbs and wax, and the floorboards groaned beneath Maya's steps. Harper explained campus quirks as they climbed, voice lowering in the dim light. "Some residences," she said, "feel different at night, and certain trees in the central quad were older than the university itself." Maya's assigned room was narrow, with a pair of twin beds and window facing the east wall. As she unpacked, Harper chattered about classes, warning Maya to sign up early for moon circles and herbal studies if she ever needed extra credit or wanted a break from the rigid structure. "Every group sticks to their own schedule," Harper said cryptically. "You'll see." That first evening, campus buzzed with excitement and nerves. But as the sun set, everything seemed to hush. Night crept across the grounds, bringing a chill and wrapping the stone buildings in shadows. Maya lay awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to Harper's gentle humming as she sorted crystals on her desk. Sleep wouldn't come easily. Images flickered through her mind. The intense gaze of a tall boy she'd noticed at orientation, the way some students seemed to melt into the dusk, and how the wind whispered like an ancient tune. Her notebook lay open on the desk. She scrawled lines about wolves and moons, about secrets tangled in roots. Everything about Crescent Moon refused to fit the mold of an ordinary college. The more she tried to rationalize, the more she wondered about the subtle glances, the tension at supper, the odd schedules and closed-off wings of the library. Early the next morning, Harper poked Maya awake, offering black coffee and a warm grin. Sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating the stacks of books and charms Harper kept hidden. Maya pulled on jeans and a sweater, telling herself she'd blend in if she kept her head down. But walking to her first literature class in Moonstone Hall, a building adorned with stone wolves and moon-shaped windows, she realized how unlikely invisibility was here. Students drifted in small groups, talking in low voices. Some wore silver pendants shaped like wolves, or carried notebooks wrapped in leather scored with odd symbols. Maya noticed the subtle way students arranged themselves in the lecture hall, how some gravitated toward the windows, while others instinctively sought the shadows. Professor Evelyn Cross, young but with an old soul, a reputation for brilliance and for being enigmatic, welcomed the class and launched into a passionate lecture about myth as memory, power as legacy. Maya lost herself in Professor Cross's words, fascinated by the idea that relics sometimes find their heirs. She slid into a rhythm of taking notes, trying to ignore the feeling that someone in the back was watching her. When class ended, Harper sauntered over, her energy infectious again. They walked together across the quad beneath ancient oaks. The air was brisk, the sky a deep, endless blue. "Some stories here are older than anyone admits," Harper said, voice conspiratorial as she flopped onto the grass. Maya hesitated before sitting, trying to process the hint of something wild beneath the surface of everything. As the weeks slipped by, the subtle oddities accumulated. Locked doors in the library labeled restricted archives, whispered arguments in foreign languages, students who seemed to have inside jokes about lunar cycles, and something called the Veil. Maya found herself growing more restless, her dreams haunted by wolves and forests. At night, she saw flickers of light among the trees, felt the campus pulse with a secret rhythm. Her instincts sharpened. She became more aware of details, the way scents changed as groups passed, the faint shimmer along the campus boundary where ivy grew thickest. Harper introduced Maya to the idea of moon circles, informal gatherings held in hidden gardens, only for those who could feel the difference in the air. Maya pretended not to notice how Harper's charms sometimes glowed in moonlight, or how she left offerings beneath a particular oak tree, always murmuring about ancestral guidance. The suggestion was clear. Crescent Moon had rules, some unwritten and some strictly enforced. Yet there were moments of normalcy, too. Maya attended lectures, raced through readings, tried to make sense of calculus and campus maps. She spent hours in the library, drawn to shelves where the books felt warmer to the touch, wondering if the archives held anything about her own family. One afternoon, she lingered in the library's sunlit bay window, studying maps of the surrounding woods, marking footpaths and utility routes. The silence was broken by the arrival of the same boy from orientation, taller than most, with midnight hair and startling amber eyes. He moved with a quiet authority, each step confident. Their eyes met briefly, and something inside Maya jolted. Harper caught her glance, nudged her playfully. "That's Reed. He runs half the campus, whether people admit it or not." Maya shrugged it off, but she couldn't forget his presence, or how the air shifted when he appeared near the moonstone statue in the quad. Days later, Maya's routine was interrupted by a subtle invitation from Professor Cross to join a special seminar for students with unusual backgrounds. Harper all but bounced, insisting Maya accept. On her way to the seminar, Maya passed through a corridor lined with artifacts, masks, stones etched with runes, ancient tomes. The professor's voice floated over the hush. "Sometimes a campus chooses its students, not the other way around." Maya felt the truth of those words vibrate in her bones. Leaving the seminar, Maya wandered in dusk across campus, passing the faded markings on a gate that split off into the forest. She hesitated, but curiosity drew her onward. The chill deepened, filling her with a sense of both dread and possibility. That night, Harper placed her favorite moonstone on Maya's desk. "It's good for clarity," she said. "Sometimes you need help seeing through the fog, especially this time of year, when energies shift." Maya rolled her eyes, smiling despite herself. Then, the strange things intensified. The feeling of being watched never faded. Doors locked behind her without warning. Students vanished from common rooms after sunset and reappeared at dawn with excuses too thin to believe. Lunar rituals were whispered about, but never explained. Despite every warning, Maya found comfort in Harper's friendship. Their nightly talks, academic support, quiet laughter. But she often wondered what Harper meant about ancestral memory, and why some buildings had wings only accessible with certain keys. Near the month's end, campus was hit by a restless wind. Rumors spiraled about forest attacks, missing books, strange tracks near the dormitory boundary. Maya sensed the tension in every conversation, saw professors scribbling notes beneath the surface, watched as the faculty locked the library's restricted wing for equinox security. One evening, returning late from study group, Maya felt drawn toward the woods at the campus perimeter. Standing at the iron gates, she noticed a faint glow in the darkness, a low growl behind the line of pine trees. The silence felt alive. Her body prickled with fear and anticipation. The next morning, Harper warned Maya to stick to populated areas. "Campus goes weird after dusk," she said. "Some places change. Only special people see it." Maya smiled, but she remembered the growl, the way her heart had raced at the boundary, how moonlight played tricks with her vision. She promised Harper she'd stay safe, but deep down, she was sure, whatever rules governed Crescent Moon, she'd find them, through the rhythm of class and campus life, from lectures in ancient halls to the quiet corners of an ivy-draped quad. A sense of belonging danced just out of reach. Sometimes Maya glimpsed wolves in the stained glass, or thought she heard their howls behind the hush of winter winds. At Crescent Moon University, nothing was ordinary. The rules were unwritten, but the secrets waited in shadows, and for the first time, Maya wondered, not whether she belonged, but how deep she'd have to go to find the truth buried beneath the moonlit stones. Chapter 2. The Forest's Hunger. The final weeks of September wrapped Crescent Moon University in an uneasy hush. Night fell heavier, longer on the grounds, and whispers about the forest behind Wolfstone Hall multiplied. Maya felt them swirl around her. Subtle warnings dropped by Harper between assignments, reminders from staff walking campus rounds with grim faces as they checked shadows for movement. Despite those cautions, for Maya, nighttime offered relief from the daily maze of politics and scrutiny. When the library emptied and students disappeared to their private rituals, she slipped outside, drawn by a need to breathe deeply, to forget pressure and reclaim the feeling that she was more than a curious outsider. Beneath the blue-black evening, campus transformed. The old trees creaked. Moonlight spilled over broken paths. The wind sharpened. Maya wandered past Wolfstone's iron gates, toward the hushed edge of the woods, her mind swirling with images. Secret moon ornaments in Harper's drawers, codes used by professors discussing the veil and the way everything changed after sunset. Harper had warned her not to cut through the woods, but Maya's comfort with solitude overruled caution. The forest, she thought, had its own logic, its own rules, different than those named in campus handbooks and orientation guides. A low growl rumbled beneath the hush, vibrating the ground and stopping Maya in her tracks. She stared into the gloom, trying to separate shadow from form, when a figure darted between the oaks, too fast, too fluid to be human. Adrenaline flashed through her, but curiosity held her still. She stepped forward, scanning the darkness for any sign of movement, resisting the urge to turn back. Distant laughter echoed from the central quad, the sound swallowed by the trees. Suddenly, the world exploded into chaos. A pair of hands, pale, chilling as ice, yanked her into the brush. Maya tumbled, her palms scraping the rough ground. She gasped for air, struggling against the grip. Two masked faces glared at her, eyes reflecting moonlight, their movements predatory and precise. Their touch felt wrong, not just rough but cold to the bone, draining. Maya lashed out instinctively, kicking and clawing, her panic mixing with an odd surge of heat pulsing through her limbs. One attacker hissed, baring elongated teeth. The word blood cut the darkness like a blade. The second grasped her hair tightly, nails biting into her scalp. Everything slowed. Maya's thoughts bent and warped, her heart thundering as that heat built, a burning pressure rising behind her eyes. She screamed, and the shriek echoed through the woods. Out of nowhere, Another presence crashed into the scene. Branches snapped. Something impossibly quick barreled into her attackers, sending them spinning with guttural roars. The air shimmered everywhere the new figure moved, a blur of muscle, claws, and amber light. Maya glimpsed dark hair and wild golden eyes, a vengeful snarl tearing from his lips. The fight happened in a heartbeat, bodies colliding, fangs clashing, the heavy scent of wolf and earth overwhelming Maya's senses. One masked figure was thrown hard into a tree, the other fled on all fours. The rescuer crouched, looming over Maya with ferocity barely held in check. For an instant, moonlight caught the side of his face. Reed, the boy from orientation, but changed, his jaw sharper, eyes glowing, limbs rippling with inhuman strength. Reed scanned the forest, breathing rough until he was convinced the attackers were gone. He turned to Maya, kneeling beside her, amber eyes melting back toward ordinary as he fought for composure. "You shouldn't be out here alone at night," he rasped. "Some things hunt when they're hungry. Are you hurt?" His hand hovered over her wrist, fingers warm, his voice at once rough and careful. Maya clutched her bleeding palm, trembling. "They just grabbed me," she managed, her words splintered by shock. "They said something about blood." Reed's scowl deepened. He lifted her gently to stand, steadying her when her knees buckled. "You need to let me take you to the dispensary. It's close. You might need more care than you think." He led her through barely seen trails, his presence calming some primal part of her panic. The confusion pressed in. Why had he risked himself? How had he fought those creatures off? He navigated in near darkness, steps unfaltering. Inside the small, hidden clinic, magic seemed to permeate the air. "A healer, Doctor." Sarah Mitchell greeted them. She radiated an odd serenity, her eyes silver bright against her deep brown skin. Mitchell examined Maya's wounds, shaking her head only briefly at the mess. "This is deeper than you realize," she said, binding Maya's hand with bandages that glowed faintly beneath her touch. "Don't wander after dark near the woods. Some threats do not respect our boundaries." Reed stayed quiet, brooding in a corner. When Mitchell finished, she handed Maya a mug of strong tea. "You'll feel better soon," she promised. "For some, healing is more than just flesh closing over." Reed fixed his gaze on Maya, confusion battling relief. "You resisted them better than I thought you could." "Most girls would have fainted." Maya tried to answer, her mind ricocheting between gratitude and something sharper. A new fear, maybe, that she hadn't responded like other normal students. Mitchell glanced between them. "Alpha Command isn't working on her," she mused, pressing her lips together. "Curious. Only hybrids can resist it outright." Maya's heart slammed. "Alpha what?" "Hybrids." She stared at Reed, searching for confirmation, but he just shook his head, jaw locked tight. "Get some rest," he said, before leaving for the night, his eyes lingering on her for a moment, gold flickering beneath the surface. Later, Harper rushed in, blue eyes wide. "What happened?" Maya explained as best as she could, omitting the strange, supernatural flashes. Harper listened closely, her fingers dancing over moonstones. "Maya, you need to be careful. Sometimes people get targeted for reasons that have nothing to do with luck," she said, voice trembling. Days passed. Maya found herself scanning crowds for Reed, uncertain if she wanted to acknowledge what she saw, or felt, in that fleeting, wild moment in the forest. Questions grew heavy. Why did those creatures want her blood? How did Reed know where to find her? And why had his touch lingered like embers when he steadied her? Campus tension thickened. Students whispered about an attack, but nobody named her as the victim. Rumors swirled. The woods were off limits after dusk. New restrictions were coming. Moonstone Hall locked for maintenance on certain nights. Harper doubled down, practically shadowing Maya everywhere she went. "You heard what Dr. Mitchell implied? You didn't faint because you're not ordinary. Alpha influence doesn't work if there's something else in your blood," she whispered in a rare moment of candor. Pieces slid together. The warnings, the rituals, the closed wings, the scent changes in the air. Maya's senses sharpened. Sometimes she almost saw halos of light or shadow around certain professors. She felt drawn to the east woods and repelled by others. When campus groups gathered, she noticed the way packs formed and broke, how every conversation seemed to have layers hiding truth. One evening, Harper showed Maya her own cache of magical tools. "Some things here need protection," she said, handing Maya a silver charm. It pulsed in Maya's hand, radiating faint heat, as if reacting directly to her touch. "I've seen stuff like this before," Maya murmured, unsure how she recognized the sensation. Harper's voice dropped. "You know how some people talk about ancestral memory? Maybe you have something like that. Crescent doesn't pick students by chance." Maya's heart raced, worlds opening and closing within her. She wanted desperately to ask, who was her father? Who was her mother before scholarships and new names? But the idea felt dangerous, almost forbidden. Reed appeared at her literature class, tension written in his face. Maya looked away, but felt the weight of his glare on her as the lesson unfolded. Professor Cross spoke about legacies and power, about the ancient right to protect and the peril of awakening too many secrets. "Some stories cling to the blood," she said, and Maya's spine tingled. The incident in the woods marked Maya in unexpected ways. She moved more cautiously, senses prickling for danger. At the dining hall, she made a point of sitting near windows, never turning her back on shadows. Habits that no longer felt paranoid, but simply necessary. A weekend passed before Maya ventured anywhere alone. Even then, she found herself taking the long way to Wolfstone, staying close to lamplight, memorizing routes. Harper sent her messages constantly. "Stay safe. The moon's restless tonight." Maya tried not to roll her eyes, but unease had claimed her. The campus braced for autumn storms. Professors doubled warnings about the woods, closing off trails and sending word through student networks that anyone caught after dusk would be disciplined. The atmosphere grew taut, electric, as students whispered about old attacks, curses breaking, and the fact that sometimes even the most protected places were not quite safe. Maya struggled to find balance between the ordinary and the extraordinary. She joined study groups, forcing herself to laugh at jokes, acing exams she'd studied for all night. Yet, every corner held potential danger. Every shadow looked deeper than before. She noted specifics, the way certain doors slammed after she passed, the nervous glances when she entered rooms, the slow, deliberate movements among packs of older students. Reed seemed to merge with darkness, only appearing when the tension peaked, never offering answers, but always watching. That weekend, Harper embraced Maya as they hurried between dorm and common room. "Promise me you'll be more careful," Harper pleaded. Maya nodded, promising, but her mind raced with memories, the masked figures, Reed's snarl, the eerie wisdom in Dr. Mitchell's voice. Nothing about Crescent Moon University was simple or safe, Maya realized. Each layer peeled away a bit more normalcy, revealing something wild beneath. She felt herself changing. The wound had healed faster than expected, and sometimes her pulse skipped, or her senses blazed with color she couldn't explain. At night, Maya wondered if she was really herself any longer, or if she'd begun to drift somewhere between the world of the ordinary and the realm of moonlit secrets. She clung to the new reality. Respect boundaries, heed warnings, keep close to those you trust, and know that the forest's hunger was only the beginning. The rules she'd learned didn't always apply, but survival depended on picking which ones to follow and which to break. As September waned and the moon grew fuller and colder, Maya stood at the threshold of a truth she could no longer deny, her ordinary life dissolving beneath the weight of what waited in the shadows. Chapter 3. Awakening Instincts. October swept across Crescent Moon University, with a bite that reached deeper than seasonal cold. Maya felt the change in her bones, not just the crisp air and dying leaves, but something fundamental shifting within herself. The attack in the woods had left more than scars. It had awakened senses she didn't understand. Colors seemed brighter, sounds carried farther, and certain scents triggered responses she couldn't explain. When she walked past groups of students, she caught fragments of conversation that made her skin prickle. Discussions about territorial boundaries, references to feeding protocols, and hushed arguments about someone called the hybrid registry. Her reflection looked the same. Chestnut hair catching light, green eyes clear and determined, but Maya felt like a stranger inhabiting her own body. The cut on her palm had healed with startling speed, leaving only a thin silver line that tingled when she pressed it. Harper noticed everything, of course. Her blue eyes tracked Maya's movements with the intensity of someone watching for symptoms. "You're different," Harper said one morning, arranging crystals on her desk with practiced precision. "Since the woods. Your scent's changed." Maya paused, coffee mug halfway to her lips. "My scent?" Harper's cheeks flushed. "I mean, your energy. The way you move. It's more aware." The explanation felt insufficient, but Maya let it slide. She had bigger concerns, like the way Professor Cross watched her during lectures, or how Reed seemed to materialize whenever she walked alone across campus. He never approached directly, just appeared at the edges of her vision, golden eyes tracking her movements before melting back into shadows. The attention felt protective rather than threatening, but it raised questions she wasn't ready to ask. Maya threw herself into academics, determined to maintain some semblance of normalcy. Literature class became her refuge, Cross's passionate discussions of mythology providing structure when everything else felt fluid. But even there, the professor's words carried double meanings that made Maya's pulse quicken. "Ancient bloodlines carry memory in unexpected ways," Cross said during a lecture on ancestral narratives. "Sometimes awakening requires trauma, a catalyst that breaks through generations of dormancy." After class, Maya lingered, studying the strange symbols carved into Moonstone Hall's doorframes. They seemed familiar, though she'd never seen them before. Harper appeared at her elbow, following her gaze. "Those are boundary markers," she explained quietly. "Each building has them. They help maintain separation between different groups." "Groups?" Maya pressed, but Harper just shook her head. "You'll understand soon enough. Some things have to be discovered, not explained." The dining hall buzzed with tension that week. Maya noticed students clustering in distinct sections, pale, elegant figures near the windows, earthy groups around the central tables, and others who seemed to shimmer with an internal light scattered throughout. She found herself cataloging differences, the way some students avoided direct sunlight, how others seemed to commune with plants as they ate, the territorial spacing that occurred without discussion or argument. Quinn Frost appeared during one of these observations, sliding into the seat across from Maya with liquid grace. Her raven hair fell in perfect waves, gray eyes cold as winter storm clouds. "You're the scholarship girl," she said, voice carrying aristocratic precision. "The one causing all the commotion." Maya straightened, meeting her gaze directly. "I don't know what you mean." Quinn's smile held no warmth. "Of course you don't. Humans rarely understand the ripples they create." She leaned forward, studying Maya like a specimen. "But you're not entirely human, are you? Your scent is complex." Reed seems fascinated. The name sent heat through Maya's chest, which Quinn noticed immediately. "Careful, little mouse. Our alpha doesn't play games with creatures he can't categorize, and I don't share what's mine." Before Maya could respond, Quinn rose and glided away, leaving behind the faint scent of ice and pine. Harper appeared moments later, sliding into the abandoned seat with concern etched across her features. What did she want? Maya shrugged, but unease settled in her stomach. "Just establishing territory, I think." That afternoon, Maya discovered the true scope of campus segregation when she accidentally wandered into a restricted area of the library. The section felt different immediately. Older, charged with energy that made her skin buzz. Ancient texts lined shelves that stretched toward shadows, and the air hummed with whispered conversations in languages she didn't recognize. A librarian materialized, eyes flashing silver before she gently but firmly escorted Maya back to the main floor. "Certain collections require special permissions," the woman explained, her accent carrying European undertones. "When you're ready, they'll find their way to you." The cryptic statement felt less like dismissal than promise, but Maya couldn't shake the feeling she'd glimpsed something meant to remain hidden. Walking back to Wolfstone Hall, Maya noticed how evening transformed the campus. Students emerged from buildings she'd assumed were empty, moving with purpose toward destinations she couldn't identify. Music drifted from hidden courtyards, and laughter echoed from spaces that appeared deserted during daylight hours. The university operated on multiple levels, she realized, Visible schedules for some, secret rhythms for others. Reed finally cornered her near the ancient oak at the quad's center. Maya felt his approach before she saw him, some new instinct alerting her to his presence. He moved with fluid power, each step deliberate, amber eyes fixed on her face. "We need to talk," he said, voice rougher than she remembered from their brief encounter at the clinic. "About what happened in the woods?" Maya asked, proud when her voice remained steady. Reed shook his head, studying her with unsettling intensity. "About what's happening to you. The changes." Heat flooded Maya's cheeks. "I don't know what you mean." His laugh held no humor. "Your pupils dilate when you catch certain scents. You track movement like a predator. And yesterday, when that freshman vampire was being hassled by my pack members, you intervened." Maya's heart slammed against her ribs. "Vampire?" Reed's expression softened slightly. The pale boy with the expensive clothes and the light sensitivity. Marcus was giving him trouble about feeding territories. You stepped in without thinking, used telekinesis to knock Marcus back 3 feet. The memory surfaced with startling clarity. Anger at seeing someone vulnerable being bullied. Heat building behind her eyes, and Marcus suddenly stumbling backward, as if pushed by invisible hands. "That wasn't—" Maya began, then stopped. Reed's golden eyes held understanding, not accusation. "You acted on instinct, protected someone weaker. It's what pack members do." The words resonated somewhere deep in her chest, recognition flooding through her like warm honey. Pack. Before Reed could answer, Quinn appeared with 2 other students Maya recognized from the dining hall's territorial clusters. "Having a private conversation?" Quinn asked, voice sharp with displeasure. "About campus politics, perhaps?" The tension ratcheted higher immediately. Reed's posture shifted, authority radiating from him in waves that made Maya's skin tingle. "We're discussing recent incidents. Nothing that concerns you." Quinn's gray eyes flashed dangerously. "Everything concerning our alpha concerns me, especially when it involves creatures of questionable breeding." Maya's temper flared, heat building behind her eyes. "Excuse me?" The air around them shimmered, and nearby leaves rustled despite the absence of wind. Quinn's companions stepped back instinctively, but Quinn held her ground, smirking with satisfaction. "Careful," she purred. "Your true nature is showing." The words triggered something primal in Maya. Rage mixed with territorial instinct she didn't understand. Power surged through her limbs, and the ancient oak's branches began to sway ominously. Reed moved between them immediately, his presence somehow dampening Maya's reaction. "Enough," he commanded, voice carrying unmistakable authority. "Both of you." Quinn's smile never wavered, but she inclined her head slightly. "As you wish, Alpha. But remember, pack loyalty requires certain standards." She glided away with her companions, leaving Maya shaking with residual energy and confusion. Reed turned to her, golden eyes gentle but serious. "You need to understand what's happening. Tomorrow night, meet me at the moon circle behind the astronomy building. It's time you learned the truth about Crescent Moon." Maya wanted to argue, to demand explanations immediately, but something in his expression stopped her. "The truth about what?" "About what you are," he said simply, "and why Quinn sees you as a threat." He melted back into the gathering dusk, leaving Maya alone with questions that multiplied like shadows. That night, Harper sat cross-legged on her bed, sorting herbs with methodical precision. "You confronted Quinn today," she said without looking up. Maya slumped against her pillows. "She confronted me, called me questionable breeding like I'm some kind of animal." Harper's hands stilled. "To some people here, breeding matters. Bloodlines, heritage, the purity of certain genetic gifts." She finally met Maya's eyes. "But not to everyone. Some of us believe power transcends traditional categories." Maya studied her roommate's face, searching for hidden meaning. "Harper, what aren't you telling me?" The question hung between them like a bridge neither was ready to cross. Finally, Harper sighed. "Some secrets aren't mine to share. But Reed's right. You need to know what you're becoming. The changes won't stop, and ignoring them won't make them disappear." Sleep came fitfully that night, filled with dreams of running through forests on 4 legs, of howling at moons that pulsed with heartbeat rhythm. Maya woke with dirt under her fingernails she couldn't explain, and the taste of pine on her tongue. Something fundamental was shifting inside her, unraveling the fabric of who she thought she was, and weaving something new, something wild. The next evening arrived with unseasonable warmth, as if the campus itself anticipated revelation. Maya made her way toward the astronomy building, every step carrying her further from the familiar world she'd known and closer to truths that would reshape everything. The moon circle waited, hidden behind ancient stones, where Reed stood silhouetted against star-drunk sky. The time for questions and half-answers had ended. Whatever she was becoming, whatever power stirred in her blood, the moment of awakening had arrived. Maya squared her shoulders and stepped into the circle, ready to discover what it meant to be more than human beneath Crescent Moon's watchful gaze. Chapter 4. The Moon Circle's Truth. The astronomy building cast long shadows across the hidden courtyard where Reed waited, moonlight turning the ancient stone circle into something ethereal. Maya approached with nervous energy thrumming through her veins, each step echoing off weathered monuments that felt older than the university itself. Reed stood at the circle's center, no longer the distant figure from orientation, but someone whose presence commanded the space around him. His amber eyes caught starlight, and when he turned toward her, Maya felt recognition pulse through her bones. "You came," he said, voice carrying relief and something deeper. "I wasn't certain you would." Maya stepped carefully over the threshold marked by carved stones. "After what happened with Quinn, I need answers. About the telekinesis, about why everyone keeps talking in riddles, about what's happening to me." Reed gestured toward the carved symbols surrounding them. "This is the Moon Circle, built by the university's founders 2 centuries ago. It's where PAC members come to understand their nature, to learn about hierarchy and territory, and the bonds that tie us together." His words resonated through Maya's chest, awakening instincts she didn't recognize. "PAC? Werewolves, Maya. Shapeshifters who've hidden among humans for millennia, building sanctuaries like Crescent Moon where we can exist safely." Reed's expression grew serious. "Most students here aren't human. Werewolves, vampires, witches, all the creatures your world dismisses as mythology. We govern ourselves, protect our territories, and maintain the veil that keeps our existence secret." Maya's worldview tilted, pieces clicking into place with startling clarity. The territorial clusters in the dining hall, Harper's cryptic warnings about campus changes at night, the restricted library sections and locked dormitory wings. That's why Quinn called me questionable breeding. She thinks I'm human. But something about me doesn't fit the category. Reed stepped closer, moonlight highlighting the sharp planes of his face. "You're not human, Maya. Your reactions, your strength, the way you resisted Alpha Command when I tried to make you forget the attack. Only hybrids can do that." He paused, studying her expression. "I'm the alpha of the largest pack on campus. My authority works through supernatural compulsion. But it failed completely with you. The revelation should have terrified her. But instead Maya felt pieces of herself falling into alignment. What am I? Reed's eyes grew gentle. We're still determining that. But your scent carries traces of wolf and something else. Magic, perhaps. Witch bloodlines mixed with shapeshifter genetics. Before Maya could process the implications, Cole appeared at the circle's edge with 2 other pack members she recognized from campus. Cole moved with easy confidence, brown eyes warm with humor despite the serious circumstances. "Alpha, we've got company incoming." Reed's posture shifted immediately, authority radiating from him in waves that made Maya's spine tingle. "How many?" "Quinn and her supporters, plus delegates from the other campus packs. Word spreading about the hybrid." Cole's expression remained calm, but tension coiled in his shoulders. Reed cursed softly. "Too fast. I'd hoped we'd have more time before the politics started." Maya stepped forward, heat building behind her eyes. "Politics about what?" "About whether you have the right to exist here unclaimed," Reed explained. "Hybrids are rare, powerful, and historically problematic. Some packs see them as threats to established order. Others want to control them." His amber eyes met hers directly. "Quinn's family has traditional claims on alpha succession. She sees you as competition for pack leadership." The approaching voices grew louder, multiple groups converging on the hidden courtyard. Maya felt her heart race as power surged through her limbs. the same energy that had knocked Marcus backward during the vampire incident. "What do I do?" Reed's expression hardened with determination. "You stand your ground. You're under my protection. But ultimately, you'll need to prove your strength." Quinn appeared first, flanked by the same companions from their dining hall encounter. Her gray eyes glittered with satisfaction as she surveyed the scene. How convenient. The Alpha introducing his pet hybrid to sacred pack territory. Behind her came students Maya recognized but had never spoken to. Older, carrying themselves with the confident authority of established hierarchies. "This isn't pack business, Quinn," Reed said, voice carrying unmistakable warning. "Maya's awakening is between us." Quinn laughed, the sound sharp as breaking glass. "Everything involving potential pack members is our business, especially when they're untested creatures of mixed breeding who might destabilize territorial agreements." Maya felt anger building, power crackling along her nerves like electricity seeking ground. "I'm not anyone's pet," she said, voice steadier than she felt, "and I don't need permission to exist." The ancient stones around them hummed with energy, responding to the tension in ways that made several pack members step backward nervously. One of Quinn's companions, a broad-shouldered boy with calculating eyes, stepped forward. "Prove it. Show us what makes you worth the Alpha's protection." Reed moved protectively in front of Maya, but she touched his arm, instinct telling her that backing down would only make things worse. "How?" "Challenge combat," Quinn said immediately, smile predatory. "Traditional pack law. You defend your right to territory through strength." Maya's pulse hammered, but something wild and fierce was awakening in her chest. "Against who?" Quinn's eyes gleamed. "Against me. Winner earns recognition. Loser leaves campus permanently." The gathered crowd held its breath, tension thick enough to taste. Reed's jaw locked with fury. "Absolutely not. Maya's untrained and you know pack combat rules." But Maya felt power surging through her bones, ancestral memory stirring with knowledge she didn't understand. "I accept." Reed turned to her, amber eyes blazing. "You don't know what you're agreeing to. Pack combat can be lethal." Maya met his gaze steadily. "Then teach me what I need to know. Right now." The request seemed to unlock something in Reed's expression. Surprise, pride, and protective instinct warring for dominance. 5 minutes, he said to Quinn, authority making the words final. "Preparation time." Quinn nodded, confident in her advantages. As the crowd dispersed to form a circle, Reed pulled Maya aside, hands gentle on her shoulders. "Listen carefully. Pack combat isn't just physical. It's about dominance, territory, the right to claim space. Your hybrid nature gives you advantages Quinn doesn't expect, but you need to trust your instincts completely." Maya nodded, feeling her heartbeat synchronize with something deeper than fear. "What kind of advantages?" Reed's eyes grew intense. "Hybrid healing, enhanced speed, and power that draws from multiple sources. But most importantly, you're fighting for belonging, not just survival. That makes you dangerous in ways Quinn can't predict." Cole approached, offering Maya a supportive grin. "She's got pack instincts already. I watched her defend that vampire freshman without hesitation. Sometimes courage matters more than experience." The words sparked confidence Maya didn't know she possessed. As the 5 minutes ended, Maya stepped into the circle's center, facing Quinn across moonlit stone. The assembled crowd fell silent, supernatural senses focused on the coming confrontation. Quinn moved with fluid grace, every gesture calculated to display power and control. "Last chance to back down, little hybrid. I don't enjoy crushing weaklings." Maya felt power building in her limbs, heat spreading through her chest. "I'm not weak, and I'm not backing down." Quinn's smirk faded, replaced by sharp concentration. "Then let's see what you're made of." The challenge began with Quinn circling, testing Maya's reflexes and spatial awareness. Maya moved instinctively, power guiding her steps as she maintained distance while studying her opponent's patterns. Quinn was fast, experienced, confident, but Maya could sense something desperate beneath the performance. Fear that her traditional claims might not be enough. Quinn struck first, lunging with inhuman speed. Maya dodged, power flaring through her muscles as she spun away from claws that whistled past her cheek. The near miss triggered something primal in Maya's blood, not just the desire to defend herself, but territorial instinct that demanded she claim this space, these people, this belonging she'd never experienced. The fight escalated quickly, both combatants drawing on supernatural strength and speed. Quinn fought with practiced technique, but Maya fought with desperation transformed into determination. Each exchange taught her more about her own capabilities. Healing that closed scratches within seconds, reflexes faster than human possibility, and power that seemed to grow rather than diminish with effort. When Quinn overextended during a particularly aggressive combination, Maya seized her opening. Power erupted from her core, telekinetic force knocking Quinn backward while Maya followed up with movements that felt remembered rather than learned. Quinn hit the ground hard, stunned by both impact and the realization that her opponent had been holding back. Maya stood over her, breathing hard but victorious, power still crackling around her like visible heat. The crowd was silent, processing what they'd witnessed. Reed stepped forward, pride and something deeper shining in his amber eyes. Challenge concluded. Maya claims right of territory. Quinn rose slowly, dignity intact but power dynamic fundamentally altered. She inclined her head toward Maya, tradition demanding acknowledgement. Well fought, hybrid. You've earned your place. The words carried no warmth, but they carried truth. As the crowd dispersed, Reed approached Maya with a smile that transformed his face. That was incredible. You fought like someone who belonged here all along. Maya felt warmth spread through her chest. Recognition and acceptance finally within reach. Because I do belong here. I can feel it. Cole clapped her shoulder, grinning broadly. Welcome to the pack, hybrid. Things are about to get very interesting. Maya looked around the ancient circle, at faces that no longer seemed foreign, and realized home had been waiting for her all along, beneath crescent moon's watchful light. The night was far from over, but Maya had claimed her place in a world where belonging meant everything, and strength determined survival. Whatever came next, she would face it as herself, not human, not entirely wolf, but something new and powerful that belonged exactly where she stood. Chapter 5. Echoes in Council. Chambers Crescent Moon. University rarely slept, but the night after the pack challenge was a rare exception for Maya. Exhaustion tugged at her bones while the moon lingered high above Wolfstone Hall, casting silver shadows through window panes clouded with autumn frost. She lay awake, replaying the combat again and again, a blur of power, instincts, and a victory she'd never imagined for herself. Harper greeted her at dawn with quiet pride, placing a steaming mug in Maya's hands. You did it, she whispered. You belong here now. Quinn won't forget, but neither will anyone else. Campus was transformed for Maya. Faces once shuttered now offered lingering glances of respect or curiosity. Whispers shifted from suspicion to speculation, and even faculty seemed to weigh her presence differently. Reed's pack welcomed her with cautious camaraderie, Cole offering jokes and advice while others acknowledged her with nods, inviting her quietly into their routines and rituals. But authority, Maya discovered, always came with consequences. Invitations to Moon Circle gatherings multiplied, and her status as the hybrid who'd bested an alpha candidate drew the notice of powers beyond the packs. Harper explained over dinner that Quinn's family, old money, deep magic, wouldn't take defeat passively. Her uncle sits on the council, you know, Harper said, voice edged with worry. If they want to contest your presence, they'll do it through formal politics. The term council hovered in Maya's mind. She learned its meaning quickly, an ancient triad, balancing vampires, witches, and werewolves, convening in a stone chamber older than Crescent Moon itself, where rules were codified, claims arbitrated, and bloodlines discussed with the seriousness of international treaties. Council days were public knowledge, eagerly awaited by some, dreaded by others. Her invitation came sealed in thick parchment, delivered by a faculty assistant with a scent somewhere between clover and cold whiskey. Maya read it twice, heart pounding. You are requested for council review, presence mandatory. Advisor, Professor Evelyn Cross. Harper was immediately in motion, gathering crystals and dried herbs. Cross is powerful, she murmured. She's on your side, but you need to prepare. Vampires, witches, old wolves, they don't abide unpredictability, and hybrids terrify them. Maya dressed with care, choosing clothes that felt like armor and brushing her hair until it gleamed. Harper pressed a moonstone into her palm before she left, and Maya tucked it into her sleeve. Council chambers stood beneath the central administration building, stone steps winding downward past flickering candles. At the door, Professor Cross greeted Maya, eyes sharp but kind. "Be calm," she whispered. "Speak plainly. Your power is alarming, but your presence here is a chance for them to see something new." Inside, the council was assembled. Lord Vincent Ashford along the vampire wing, pale with calculating blue eyes. Elder Cain Griffin, old as mountains, representing the wolves, and High Witch Cassandra Hartford at the center, her robes shimmering like mist. A hush fell as Maya entered, eyes tracking her every move, measuring her with centuries of experience. Elder Griffin spoke first, his voice grave. "Pack law has been upheld. Maya Collins defeated Quinn Frost and has earned territory rights, but the matter of her nature remains unsettled." His amber gaze scanned the assembly. "Hybrids bring discord as often as they bring strength." Lord Ashford's voice was soft as silk, but beneath it lay razor edges. "Our primary concern is control, not chaos. Maya's gifts have not been catalogued, her lineage remains obscured, and her allegiance to any existing house or coven is unclear. What prevents her from becoming a destabilizing force?" Even unwittingly, High Witch Hartford's expression softened. "The university exists as a sanctuary, a place for all who carry the mark of power. Maya has demonstrated restraint, courage, and adaptability. I propose an amendment to registration. Maya Collins, admitted as hybrid under the protection of Alpha Reed and Professor Cross." Cross added, "And as evidence of goodwill, I entrust the assembly with something Maya's mother left behind, a journal that chronicles lineage and legacy, entrusted with me for moments such as this." Maya stepped forward, moonstone warming in her palm as she offered the journal. Hartford took it reverently, tracing the leather cover with ancient sigils. "This is valuable. The child's legacy is wound with destiny." Ashford leaned in, nostrils flaring. "Whose blood does it claim? What secrets hide within?" Hartford read a passage aloud. "Isabella Torres, witch werewolf hybrid, bore a daughter on Crescent Moon's sacred ground. The father's name, Connor Walsh, lost to shadows but not to memory." She writes, "My child carries a bridge between worlds. Her bloodlines run deep." Griffin nodded, grave as earth. "Connor Walsh was Alpha Rogue, expelled for breaking council law. But his loyalty to the pack was never questioned. This child is his, by tradition, worthy of protection if she can maintain order." Maya felt relief edge her nerves as Hartford continued. "The bridge prophesied is not a weapon. It is an opportunity. Territorial rifts, divided lines. The hybrid's gifts might heal what old wounds have scarred." Ashford's tone sharpened. "Prophecies are double-edged. Council must reserve the right to review, to protect the university's stability." Cross countered, "And in the interim, Maya remains under my guidance, answerable to the council, but not subject to containment." A motion was made, debated, and passed. Maya's registry was signed, her presence formalized. For now, protected but closely watched. After the session, Cross found Maya outside, autumn wind strong across the quad. "You handled yourself well. That journal. Your mother meant for it to guide you, not just shield you." Read deeply. Some entries describe rituals and history. Others warn of dangers not yet past. With Harper's help, Maya began to study each page. Dates and diagrams intertwined, spells for protection encoded in runes, references to blood moon rituals and ancestral memory. She found entries describing formative moments, her mother hiding amidst storms, incantations whispered to keep Maya safe, a love letter to Connor Walsh hidden between spells. A week later, tension rose again. Campus packs converged on the quad, boundary lines redrawn with chalk and scented oils. Harper interpreted the diplomacy. The council wants visible order. They'll watch who you speak to, who challenges you, who you trust. Cole offered protection in subtle ways, prepping Maya for both small talk and actual territory patrol. But power always attracts challenge. One evening, Quinn accosted Maya outside Wolfstone, flanked by her supporters. "The council may accept you, Collins, but don't mistake registration for acceptance. Prove loyalty, or watch your power turn you into an outcast." Her gray eyes gleamed with familiar hunger. Not just for revenge, but for the recognition that her own position was shifting. Maya took the warning seriously, replying with calm she didn't truly feel. "I have power, Quinn, but I choose how to use it. I don't want war." Cole and other pack members drew close, reinforcing Maya's claim to territory and safety. Reed met her at the moon circle that night, relief written in every line of his posture. "You're making history, Maya. Some will never forgive you, but more will respect you for standing your ground." Maya nodded, pressing her journal against her chest. "This place isn't safe for hybrids, but it's better with allies." Late that night, Harper helped Maya decode more spells from the journal. One entry described spirit walking, the ability to commune with ancestral memory during moments of crisis. Maya practiced simple charms, moonstone in one hand, night air in her lungs, and felt a strange clarity settle over her. Instinct suggested she'd need this magic soon. As October waned, Crescent Moon's energy grew more complex. Rituals before dawn, closed meetings among council members, increased patrols by Reed's pack, and distant rumors of vampires testing boundaries at the edge of forest paths. Professor Cross offered Maya guidance at every turn, ensuring her training included discretion and supernatural etiquette. "Hybrids are always watched," Cross said, "but power wisely used will turn skepticism into trust." Blood Moon approached, an annual ritual where boundaries were redrawn, powers strengthened, alliances confirmed. Harper explained its resonance in the journal, how old magic ensures loyalty and clarity, but exposes hidden ambitions as well. Maya braced herself. In just days, campus would become a battleground. She studied, trained, retreated to quiet in the library, and to the pack for defense. Her place in the university was hard-won, her future uncertain. But for the first time, Maya felt she could shape her own destiny, not by hiding her lineage, but by claiming every part of herself in the shadow of Council's echoing voices. Chapter 6. Blood Moon. Rising. The last days of October teetered on the cusp of transformation. Cold wind swept the campus, sending curls of fog slithering between the ancient stones. And Maya sensed that something vital, something old and wild, was coming awake. Harper's warnings grew quieter, replaced with practical advice. Keep Moonstone close. Don't walk alone after dark. Listen for howls that felt too close to language. The Blood Moon ritual was days away, and Crescent Moon University pulsed with anticipation and unease. Maya's training intensified. Professor Cross split her time between teaching concealment spells and instructing Maya on political etiquette for supernatural gatherings. "Blood Moon is more than a ceremony," Cross explained in one breath. "It's a night when boundaries erode, and all sides test their alliances. Your hybrid powers might be strongest now. Use them wisely, but watch for those drawn to what you represent." Harper coached Maya in the greenhouse, weaving herbs into charms and describing the subtle mechanics of spirit walking. "The ancestral memory will be loudest during Blood Moon," Harper explained, fingers deft as she twined silver thread through a protective amulet. "You'll hear voices you didn't know you had. Let them show you what your instincts can't." Reed's pack, too, stepped up defenses. Cole spent hours walking perimeter patrols with Maya, narrating campus politics in fragments. The rival wolf packs are circling. The Silver Ridge pack wants Reed's position. And Quinn? She's been meeting with the vampire delegates. Tension is off the charts. At night, Maya joined rituals in the moon circle, standing among wolves who chanted in voices that blurred language and growl. She learned the old traditions, how moon phases dictated challenges, when territory could be claimed, and the significance of sacred objects. Her own powers evolved quickly, telekinetic strength responding to emotion rather than intention, wound healing almost automatic, senses so sharp she could pick up territorial markers or detect magic woven into stone. But as Maya grew stronger, campus threats multiplied. Harper's tip about reading veil markers let Maya avoid trouble, but rumors of rogue vampires and witches testing boundaries left students on edge. Quinn's alliance with vampires became obvious. Late-night meetings at the edge of campus left her smelling of old blood and forbidden magic. 1 week before the blood moon, Maya found Harper in the library, hunched over an old journal. "Your mother wrote about campus rituals," Harper murmured, tracing faded text. "Blood moon night is not just about power. It's about unlocking what's hidden." She believed hybrids were meant to unite, not divide. That afternoon, Professor Cross summoned Maya to her office, an ancient room layered in protection sigils and old maps. With a grave expression, Cross unfurled an envelope. "Connor Walsh, your father, was last seen on Blood Moon decades ago. Rogue packs and vampires tried to claim him. The same factions circle you now. You must be ready to defend not just yourself, but your right to exist outside old laws." Maya's mind whirled with history, prophecy, the threat of campus politics unraveling into violence. "Can things change?" she asked, voice raw. Cross nodded. "Only if someone dares to bridge the chasm. Power brings risk, but it also brings opportunity." The days blurred. Maya trained with Harper at dusk, practicing ancestral connection, channeling hybrid magic. She joined pack patrols with Reed and Cole after midnight, learning to track, defend, move with supernatural precision. At every turn, students whispered, "Blood moon's coming. The hybrid will be tested." The night before the ritual, campus was restless. Packs howled in distant woods. Vampires kept to the shadows. Witches retreated to hidden circles. Reed found Maya at Wolfstone Hall, his expression an interplay of pride and anxiety. "You're ready, Maya. Tomorrow you'll prove yourself against every tradition that ever tried to keep you out." Quinn emerged at the ritual's edge, pale and defiant. "The council may protect you, but tomorrow night, our packs will decide what you really are." Her challenge was formal, a combat for recognition, sanctioned by old law and new tensions. Maya's acceptance was immediate, her instincts aligning with the energy swirling around her. Cole said quietly, "Trust your blood. Trust the memory. Tomorrow isn't just about fighting. It's about claiming your future." Blood Moon Night arrived shrouded in thunder and silver rain. Students gathered in cloaks and charms. Packs formed tight circles. The council presided over an arena of carved stones, where every challenge would be witnessed. Maya entered the circle, moonstone in one hand, the other clutching a charm braided by Harper. Quinn faced her, eyes unyielding. "Last chance to back down, hybrid." Maya shook her head, awareness thrumming in every cell. "Not tonight." Tradition dictated that combat begin with words. For territory, for pack, for the right to belong. Maya felt ancestral memory open wide in her thoughts. A slow flooding of images, whispered ritual, movement that belonged to someone else but fit perfectly. Her wounds closed as soon as Quinn scored them. Her senses anticipated the next attack. Telekinesis answered fear. Ancestral insight shaped defense and counter. The fight was long and brutal. Quinn faster, more experienced, but Maya stronger, more adaptable, her power fueled by emotion and legacy. As the council watched, Maya accessed spirit walking fully, channeling the wisdom and methods of generations. Quinn slipped, faltered, driven back by forces she couldn't calculate. At the end, both combatants stood bloodied and breathless in moonlight. Quinn, pride wounded, knelt in formal submission. "Hybrid, you have shown strength. The law claims you." The council signaled, marking acceptance with ancient tokens. Reed met Maya in the circle, pressing her hand and letting relief wash over his features. "You did it. You're Luna now, claimed by Pack and Council. Quinn will be your ally, if not your friend." After the arena emptied, Harper found Maya, eyes shining. "Your mother dreamed of this." Her words in the journal promised that power would shape the new order. "You can end the cycle, Maya." Across campus, packs dispersed to reset boundaries. Vampires retreated. Covens gathered for interpretation of omens. Professor Cross appeared in the quad, voice rich with pride. "You redefined possibility, Maya. Never let anyone erase what you've won." As dawn broke over Crescent Moon, Maya felt herself changed. blood and magic, memory and love, belonging to a community remade by her refusal to yield. Blood Moon Night had tested her, but she stood victorious, ready to shape what came next. Chapter 7. The Luna's Crucible. November 15th arrived with an electric stillness that made every supernatural on campus hold their breath. The blood moon hung heavy in the afternoon sky, visible even through gray clouds, and Maya felt its pull deep in her bones. This wasn't just another ritual night. This was the culmination of everything that had been building since her arrival at Crescent Moon University. Tonight, all debts would be settled, all challenges answered, all futures decided. Maya stood before her dorm room mirror, studying her reflection with new eyes. The girl who had arrived with a scholarship and desperate hope was gone, replaced by someone whose green eyes held flecks of gold, whose posture carried the confidence of earned power. Harper bustled around behind her, weaving protective charms into Maya's hair and pressing blessed oils into her palms. "Remember what your mother wrote," Harper whispered. "The hybrid's greatest strength isn't power, it's unity. Tonight you don't fight as wolf or witch or spirit walker. You fight as all three." Reed's pack had been preparing for hours, transforming the central quad into an ancient battleground. Cole approached with weapons blessed by moonlight. Silver blades for vampires, iron for rogue witches, wooden stakes carved with protection runes. "The Silver Ridge pack arrived an hour ago," he reported, "and Quinn's vampire allies are massing near the old chapel. This isn't just about your claim anymore, Maya. It's about whether old traditions survive or new ones take root." Professor Cross appeared at Maya's door, her expression grave but determined. "The Council has declared neutrality, but watch for Elder Griffin. His loyalties are divided. The vampires will test your spirit walker abilities, and the rival packs will challenge your right to Reed's claim. Trust your instincts, Maya. Your bloodline has survived worse." As darkness fell, Maya made her way to the quad where supernatural students from across campus had gathered. The air thrummed with tension so thick it felt solid. Ancient torches cast dancing shadows over stone circles, and the blood moon's crimson light turned everything the color of old wine. Maya took her position at the circle's center, Reed at her right side, Harper at her left. Cole and the pack formed a protective semicircle behind them. Quinn emerged from the shadows, flanked by pale figures whose eyes gleamed red in the moonlight. Her alliance with vampires had transformed her. She moved with predatory grace, power radiating from her in waves. "Tonight ends your pretense, hybrid," Quinn called out. "Old blood claims what new blood cannot hold." Before Maya could respond, howls echoed from the forest edge. The Silver Ridge pack burst into the quad, led by a massive wolf whose eyes blazed amber. As one, they shifted into human form, tall, scarred, moving with the confidence of warriors. Their leader, a man called Marcus Stone, stepped forward with ceremonial authority. "We challenge Reed's claim," he announced. "His pack has been weakened by hybrid influence. Silver Ridge demands territory rights." The three-way confrontation that followed was unlike anything Maya had experienced. Quinn's vampires attacked with inhuman speed, seeking to drain Maya's power before she could access her hybrid abilities. The Silver Ridge wolves fought with brutal efficiency, targeting Reed and his pack with coordinated strikes. And through it all, Maya found herself at the center of a storm that threatened to tear apart everything she'd fought to protect. But as the first wave of attacks crashed over them, Maya felt something unprecedented happen. The Spirit Walker abilities Harper had helped her develop suddenly blazed to life, flooding her consciousness with the memories and wisdom of generations. She could see through her mother's eyes, feel her father's strength, draw upon the knowledge of hybrid ancestors who had faced similar trials. Power flowed through her, not just telekinesis or enhanced healing, but something deeper, older, more complete. Maya raised her hands, and silver light erupted from her palms, pushing back vampires and wolves alike. She could feel the blood moon's energy channeling through her, transforming her hybrid nature into something that transcended individual species. When Quinn lunged forward, fangs extended, Maya caught her with telekinetic force and held her suspended in midair. "I don't want to hurt you," Maya said, voice carrying across the battlefield, "but I won't let you destroy what we're building." Reed fought beside her, his pack moving with lethal precision against the Silver Ridge wolves. But Maya could see the toll the battle was taking. Too many enemies, too many fronts, too much chaos for even supernatural strength to overcome. That's when her spirit walker abilities showed her something crucial. This wasn't meant to be won through violence alone. Maya stepped into the circle's center, power blazing around her like visible heat. "Stop!" she commanded, voice echoing with ancestral authority. "This isn't about who's strongest or whose bloodline is purest. This is about whether we choose unity or let fear destroy us all." For a moment, the battlefield fell silent. Then Marcus Stone laughed, harsh and mocking. "Pretty words, hybrid, but blood doesn't lie. You're an anomaly, a mistake that threatens the natural order." He shifted into wolf form, massive and dark, preparing for a final charge. But Maya was ready. As Marcus leaped toward her, she drew upon every aspect of her hybrid nature, witch magic crackling around her fingers, wolf instincts guiding her movements, spirit walker wisdom showing her exactly what needed to be done. She met his attack head-on, her own partial transformation revealing claws and fangs and eyes that burned with supernatural fire. The combat that followed was brief, but decisive. Maya's hybrid abilities gave her advantages. Marcus couldn't counter. Healing that closed wounds instantly, strength that drew from multiple sources, and reflexes enhanced by ancestral memory. When she finally pinned him to the ground, his submission was complete and absolute. Quinn had watched the entire exchange, her alliance with vampires crumbling as they retreated into shadows. When Maya turned to face her, Quinn's expression held grudging respect rather than hatred. "You're not what I expected," Quinn admitted. Perhaps there's wisdom in new traditions." Reed approached, pride and something deeper shining in his amber eyes. "You didn't just win, Maya. You transformed the entire conflict. Look around. They're not fighting anymore. They're listening." Maya glanced across the quad, realizing he was right. Supernatural students from every faction had gathered, drawn by the power she'd displayed, but also by the words she'd spoken. For the first time in the university's history, werewolves and vampires and witches were standing together, unified by something larger than their individual interests. Professor Cross stepped forward, voice ringing with ceremonial authority. "By right of combat, by wisdom of leadership, by the blessing of the blood moon, Maya Collins is recognized as Luna Supreme, not just of Reed's pack, but as bridge between all supernatural communities on this campus." The title felt heavy and right at the same time. Maya looked at Reed, saw his love and pride and absolute trust, then turned to address the assembled crowd. "I didn't come here to change anything," she said. "I just wanted to belong somewhere. But if my existence can help heal old wounds, if my hybrid nature can show us new possibilities, then I accept the responsibility." Harper rushed forward, tears streaming down her face. "Your mother would be so proud," she whispered. The journal's final entry. She prophesied this moment, the hybrid who would unite rather than divide. As the blood moon reached its zenith, Maya felt power settling into her bones. Not the raw energy of earlier battles, but something deeper, more stable. She was no longer the uncertain scholarship girl who had arrived in September. She was Luna Supreme, bridge between worlds, protector of the unity she'd helped create. Cole approached with a grin, clasping her shoulder. "Well, boss, what's our first official act?" Maya smiled, looking around at faces that reflected hope rather than fear. "We start building something new, together." The night wasn't over. There would be ceremonies to complete, alliances to formalize, new traditions to establish. But as Maya stood in the circle where she'd first learned the truth about herself, surrounded by the supernatural community that had become her family, she knew she was exactly where she belonged. The blood moon had tested her, but she had emerged stronger, wiser, and ready to lead them all into an uncertain but promising future. The transformation was complete. Maya Collins had found her place at Crescent Moon University, not by hiding what she was, but by embracing every aspect of her hybrid nature. And in doing so, she had transformed not just herself, but an entire world. Chapter 8. Dawn of Harmony. 3 weeks after Blood Moon, Crescent Moon University shimmered with transformation. The campus, still blanketed in autumn gold, now hummed with possibilities once unthinkable beneath its tangled ivy and iron gates. Maya was waking before sunrise, haunted no longer by fear or exclusion, but by a sense of purpose and anticipation. She slipped out of Wolfstone Hall while the world was still quiet. Her eyes, now unmistakably flecked with gold, caught the first blush of light diffusing through the old oaks. Each morning, Reed waited at the quad, broad-shouldered and steady, a silent reassurance. Their partnership, forged in storm and combat, was now the grounding for a new council, a place where old walls blurred and trust could attempt to mend what generations had torn. Maya wrapped her hand around his as they watched campus come alive. Wolves, witches, and vampires mingled over breakfast, their laughter rising in the chill air. Some, like Harper and Cole, made the work look easy, organizing shared rituals, designing new boundaries on parchment, greeting new arrivals with warmth instead of wary scrutiny. Harper, now officially campus liaison, had thrown herself into projects Maya never dreamed possible, holding classes in the greenhouse for mixed groups, translating old magical treatises, teaching both wolves and vampires to use protective herbs against rogue spells. "You realize how wild this is?" she'd whisper, handing Maya bundles of moonroot and rosemary for patrol. 5 months ago, half these people wouldn't speak to each other without council permission. The first order of business had been the dissolution of old pack boundaries. Maya, guided by the wisdom gleaned in spirit journeys and council sessions, orchestrated territory-sharing deals that forced longtime rivals to cooperate for the first time. Marcus Stone, formerly leader of Silver Ridge and proud nemesis, now spent afternoons working alongside Reed, tending to campus grounds and training first-year wolves in nonviolent dispute resolution. Quinn, wounded but returned to full strength, brokered vampire-werewolf treaties and proved a fierce advocate for hybrid representation. The Great Hall became the seat of the new Interspecies Council. Professor Cross presided, her presence both ceremonial and practical, flattening out old prejudices, ensuring that hybrid students were not just tolerated but welcomed. Elder Griffin spoke little, but offered blunt approval when faced with Maya's boundary proposals. Lord Ashford emerged less often, his eyes wary but his words resigned. The vampires, once aloof or predatory, had begun joining Harper for garden rituals and lending their protection magic to the rebuilt campus gates. Not all transitions were smooth. Some packs grumbled about lost privileges, a few elders fretted over broken traditions, and the air was often thick with arguments over council priorities. But the new order held, challenged less by outright violence than by reluctance to trust. Maya absorbed this tension, sitting through long sessions where she mediated disputes, like separating spell disputes from wolf territory claims, or ensuring first-year witches could practice freely without fear of pack aggression. Through it all, Maya's powers matured. Healing was now reliable, telekinesis quieted by self-control, and her spirit walking went deeper. Harper guided her through trance journeys, helping Maya make sense of cryptic ancestral warnings. "Blood alone doesn't make a Luna," Harper would remind her. "Compassion changes more than claws ever could." Night patrols were no longer a cause for fear. Maya walked campus with Cole and Quinn, sharing stories and wisdom, alert for signs that rogue vampires or outcast witches threatened the peace. What had once been a matter of survival for the hybrid was now a process of stewardship, guarding not just her chosen family, but the fragile alliances weaving students together. Students from other academies began to arrive, hybrids seeking sanctuary, lone wolves needing respite from dangerous packs, witches disillusioned by coven politics. The Spirit Walker Academy, a new initiative from the council, became a beacon. Those with rare gifts no longer hid in fear, but learned alongside Maya and her friends how to navigate a world where unity was the highest magic. Harper, always inventive, created groups for shared study, where even vampires, once fiercely secretive, allowed their magic to be taught alongside ancient wolf rituals. Reed and Maya's bond was more than romantic now. He became both partner and advisor, ballot caster at council meetings, and silent presence during the hardest mediations. Their private moments were rare but sacred. Walking campus at dawn, trading stories of their parents, dreaming about futures where all heritages could meet without bloodshed or lies. One evening, Professor Cross called together representatives of every faction. "Tonight," she announced in the torchlit hall, "we establish the new veil." And with rituals drawn from Maya's journal and Harper's translations, wolves, witches, and vampires bound campus within a new protection magic, stronger, more inclusive. Maya led the circle, her voice steady, guiding the incantation that united memory, blood, and will. At its climax, the veil shimmered across campus borders, visible to all magical sight. The students who had watched Maya's rise now flocked to her for advice. She accepted their doubts and hopes with equal grace, listening, mediating, refusing to let any one tradition dominate the new council's decisions. Some pushed for expediency. Old ways worked for centuries, but Maya insisted, "We grow or we fall apart. We protect each other and the next generation." The hybrid haven, nestled near the greenhouse, became campus sanctuary, a place for questions, healing, and belonging for all who had been caught between worlds. Maya watched over it, helped new arrivals acclimate, made time for every troubled student. "You're safe here. You belong," she'd say, echoing Harper's old promise. Difficult days came, as old enemies tested the new protections. Rogue vampires circled, a few outcast witches questioned council authority. Quinn and Cole stood beside Maya, not fully friends but more than allies, each trusting her because she'd never tried to erase their legacy, only to build on it. Spirit journeys deepened. In moonlit trances, Maya found her mother's voice, heard Connor Walsh warn against vengeance, saw the younger versions of Cross, Griffin, and Ashford, all making choices that shaped the present. "This work never ends," the spirits warned, but every cycle broken is a blessing. The semester ended with a celebration. Shared meals, dancing, rituals that blended coven magic and wolf music, vampire illusions and hybrid earth chants. Harper led the council in a final blessing. "May the veil stand, and every exile find home." Reed pulled Maya onto the quad, smiling as he traced moonlight across her knuckles. "You're not just Luna. You're my partner for all this." Looking back, Maya could barely recognize the frightened girl who had arrived with only hope and a battered duffel bag. She had claimed her place, first in combat, then through compassion, now as Luna Supreme and Spirit Walker. She was bridge and boundary, healer and protector, leader and friend. The campus was new, still imperfect, but alive with unity Maya had shaped with every hard choice and patient step. "You came here seeking family," Harper mused as the festival wound down. "You built it yourself, Luna." Smiling, Maya let herself breathe, her gold-flecked eyes reflecting the torchlight. For the first time, Crescent Moon University belonged not just to tradition, but to everyone willing to learn and change. And Maya, no longer orphan, never just hybrid, walked into the future with her pack, her council, and her chosen family at her side.